Welcome everybody to the next episode of ChimpChat. We are joined by Cesare Ramos of IDF. It's a technology company based in Miami, helping clients with all their networking and technology needs. Chessie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's start with what's on everybody's mind, which is COVID-19 and coronavirus. I assume the bulk of what you've been doing over the last couple of weeks is really helping your clients deal with the ramifications of that to their business, specifically remote access and remote employees. Talk to us about what you've been doing and kind of how you've been helping people.
Yeah, sure. We're a very big believer in form and function, and that's how we structure our solutions. So not every solution fits for every client. We have a handful of clients that have built out their user infrastructure with laptops and mobile devices. So in all honesty, they were ready to go. As the different parts of the county, and some of our clients are spread across the nation, different parts of the states and whatnot started putting in shelter-at-home orders or stay-in-home orders. They were ready. And a lot of people are also used to working from home. So that hasn't been a big change. Really what required some ramp up is some additional peripherals, monitors, keyboards, this and that, to make it the home office. And then just talking through with them how to kind of get their environment to be more a workable home environment, because now you have additional guests at home that normally aren't there when you're working from home. You've got the kids, you've got your spouse. So getting that set up. But we've got some users that are using VPN, some users are using remote technology solutions, connecting to a desktop in the office. And we did have to scramble the first couple of weeks because the other side of them did not have any laptops. So it was a kind of a frenzy of ordering equipment, getting things set up, and just working through it and trying to get people to continue functioning as close to normal as possible.
Right. So you obviously talked about a few different solutions and how people can work remotely. Talk through what those solutions mean and why you might choose one versus another.
Okay. Again, the thought of the form and function is important. Without geeking out on the tech answers here, some clients, some environments have existing servers in place. So you can grab a laptop and go home, go to a Starbucks, go wherever it is that you're allowed to go in these times, and connect via VPN to your office. And you can think of that as a long cable, a long network cable. So you're connected back to the office. Now, within that, sometimes people have applications that require you to be in the same facility because the application is very heavy to use. Those would be where we set up some sort of like remote desktop solution so that you're using a mobile device, normally a laptop, but it could even be an iPad or some sort of tablet, to connect to a computer that is physically at the location. And you could use like Log Me In or Go to My PC. There's a handful of them out there.
Okay, and you don't have a preference on one versus another, or do you have a preference on what any of those are?
No, I mean, we have our own support tool. It's called, the name of the company is ConnectWise, it's Control. And we've offered that at no cost to some clients to be able to connect to their machines. Because we use it for support purposes, but we're able to manipulate and tweak the settings in a positive way to allow people to use it to connect to their machines. But we have some users that are used to using Go to My PC because that's what they like. So we use that and deployed it out in their environment. Another popular one is remote to My PC. That one has become a popular one also. And my team is very versed in all the different ones. So again, it's up to the client that we're working with, what they want to use and what they need to use.
So getting back to the VPN style of things, which is like you described, it's a good way of describing it, just like a long cord that connects you to your office. Mm-hmm. That's obviously if somebody has an internal server in their office. I mean, how does the cloud or a cloud-based server sort of work into that situation?
More and more, to your point, more and more clients are using some sort of cloud-based solution, whether it be your G Suite, whether it be Office 365, and they're using a combination of Google Drive or OneDrive, Dropbox. Those eliminate the need for a VPN. But the VPN is more in the traditional server with a file server, and you have your, quote unquote F drive mapped, and that's how your data structure is. And those are the people that still need the VPN. But more and more, we've migrated clients to some sort of cloud hosting or cloud storage, and that facilitates it. But again, in this quick ramp up, we just got done what we had to get done.
Right. Obviously, a lot of people talk right now about Teams. That seems to be every conversation.
I've never heard of it.
I'm sure you haven't. No, it's completely, totally random, right? Well, let me tell you about it then, Chester. But no, obviously, it seems like I have a lot of conversations where people are kind of coming to the realization that Teams are actually a decent platform, or using one of the G Suite solutions. Talk to us about Teams and how businesses, your specific clients, have started to integrate that into their business.
We've had a handful of clients that have been using Teams at, I guess, the scratching of the surface, just for point-to-point chat or one-on-one messaging. In some of the clients that we work closer with and are more, we are more their true IT department, we've actually leveraged some of the functionality within Teams over this period of time to help them with some file sharing and kind of educate them on the actual, using the word Teams, creating the channels and how they can create, add more people to the channels and exchange files, to not have to depend on that file server, or to not have to depend on, you're now in the same office now and Mary forgot to connect to the VPN, so Bill can't see the update she made, and so forth and so on. Well, you drag a file in the Teams and the file's shared. Everybody has access to it. And kind of like the Google Doc scenario, you can live share it, you can live update it. And I mean, it's been an aha moment for some of these clients. We historically, internally, were using Teams, again, at a very testing purpose. We were Slack guys in the past. But because of this and the explosion that Teams has had, I made the decision to migrate over to Teams. We've been using Teams now heavily, actually as part of our workflow for about the last 3.5 weeks. And when things go back to normal, whatever that becomes, I'm curious to see how we're going to stop using it as we're using it now, because it's, from the video perspective, the silly stuff of the GIFs, the emojis, this and that. Even my team has said it's really great the way we can communicate better now, even in this disconnected scenario. Which, by the way, we've been working fully remote, the entire office, for the last 3 weeks.
Sure. So let's talk about your office and that you started integrating Teams into your business. What are the changes that you personally implemented or seen from, as a tech company, in how you're managing what's going on?
Well, specifically to Teams, some of the things that we've changed is the file sharing aspect. We still are heavy Dropbox users. I did away with a file server. I can't even remember when it was, but again, trying to live and exist in the same environment and make things smooth is very important to me. So we took a couple of our client folders, specific clients, and we moved them into Teams, into the whole SharePoint environment. And they're living and breathing there. And as the day passes, and as the days pass, I keep looking back going, well, why am I still going to Dropbox? Let me move this one. And my team knows how I am, that I'm a little bit, kind of aggressive on things sometimes. I'll send them a team message and say, hey, by the way, such and such client was just moved into Teams. And they're like, oh, okay, fine. So I think it's like any tool and like any solution in technology is, if you do some initial testing and validate that it works, there's going to be gotchas, but you need to kind of embrace it, because if not, you can't coexist in two environments. It's not going to work right.
Sure, and I think that transition period is one of the more difficult times for any business, whether it's a technology business or a non-technology business, because that middle ground where you're using half and half is always tough, and pulling that trigger. I mean, trying to change your banks, from one bank to another bank can be very tough. So obviously having kind of a technology partner walk you through it is always helpful. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a mentality or a philosophy shift business has to have, because you were using Dropbox, which is a cloud-based storage solution, but it's not integrated the way a Teams or a G Suite sort of integrates everything. It kind of is just a separate, just like a file in the cloud. It's just like, here's, no different than like having a NAS system in your office. That's really how you were using it. So it's kind of how it kind of forced our hands to kind of make change that we didn't otherwise expect. So I find that kind of fascinating or whatever. So what other conversations are you having right now with your clients with regard to their questions, their concerns regarding, COVID or coronavirus?
A lot of the clients, the clients that I've spoken to, a lot of them are just trying to keep the gears turning in this, as I've started calling it this week, day 99 of the island, trying to. It's
not the apocalypse. Let's not get ourselves, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's.
I thought there'd be like more spikes and leather, but other than that, it's kind of.
It's not as exciting. So, you know, they're trying to just keep the gears turning. But what has come out from those conversations is, hey, when things get back to normal, we really need to talk about how we can implement a stronger voice over IP solution, or really the mobility applications on the machine, on the people's cell phones. Another topic has been, when things get back to normal, I really want to discuss my business continuity plan or disaster recovery plan so that people can work remotely if somebody gets sick, or in case I have to shut down my office or this and that. Again, it's time frame wise, it could be June, July, whenever these conversations start occurring. But I can see that the heavy topics are going to be virtualization of some sort, whether it be for the desktop, for the user, for the office as a whole, and the aspects of managing the telephony communication side of it, not only internally, but also with their clients and with their partners.
Interesting. So I guess it's kind of fascinating how this became the catalyst that people wanted to have and see for long-term change in their business, that you've been talking to them for, I'm guessing, years about setting these sorts of things up, but until the reality of something like, you know, what we were talking about, of what's happening in the society where things really are shut down and people really can't go into their office because of government sort of mandates and safety. It's kind of fascinating to see how it's evolved people's mentality shift on how they're perceiving and how they're going to use technology in their business. I mean, right? I mean,
well, I agree, but I think it's human nature, okay? Because, you know, one that probably comes to mind to all of us is we all say we got to watch what we eat. And until you go put on that shirt or those pair of pants and they're a little bit snug, you don't say, you know what, I really need to watch what I need to eat. So there's, until it slaps us in the face sometimes, I think that's when we learn. And some of us need the multiple slaps. Some of us learn from seeing somebody else get slapped. But I think now what we've got is everybody's been slapped, and it's forcing our hand to really step back and look at it and look at just how things are operating.
What's also fascinating to me is that people are saying, as soon as things are back to normal, then we're going to do it. Right. I find that to be kind of an interesting sort of psychology 101 sort of analysis, because, well, you're experiencing it now. Why not address it now? I guess people are just scrambling, but it's.
I think what the thought of when things get back to normal, I think the point of hesitation right now is, you know, referencing here in South Florida. You know, 3 weeks ago is when things started shaking out. Then they started putting in the stay-at-home orders, and then it started becoming reality that, okay, we had to operate this way. I would say the later part of last week and this week is when it's the reality. So now people are realizing how businesses have changed. As an owner, you're able to project and see, okay, this is what I am going to have coming in, what expenses I'm going to have. They've had to make tough decisions about employment and staffing. So I think that the thought of when it gets back to normal is based on the concern of the financial aspect of it, but not so much the psychological aspect of it of, I need to change. I think everybody needs to change. They realize, not everybody, but a large percentage of businesses realize they need to change, like all of ours, like your business, my business. We all need to adjust certain things. It's just a matter of, is now the time to invest, you know, $10,000 in a virtual solution, whether it be VMware or whatever, when I need to look at that $10,000 to keep payroll going for the next cycle.
I mean, ultimately, a lot of businesses are being hurt, and we don't know how this will ultimately flesh out. So I think, you know, that makes a little bit of sense. So in talking to your clients, and obviously this is a little bit outside of the IT world, what are you hearing? And what are people's fears? What are their concerns? Outside of the technology, obviously, you've got a great relationship with the bulk of your clients. What are their fears? What are their concerns? How are they feeling?
It's the same thought, at least that I know I'm going through. I don't know that you're going through. Is you know, when are things, and I hate to say the word, but when are things going to get back to normal? When can we go back to the businesses that we're going? When can we visit clients like we used to? That's the thought, is everybody's just trying to figure it out as to what's the next step. And whether it's because of, as you said, of government mandates, or whether it's because of there's some sort of curve that's going to turn that this thing's going to slow down or something's going to be found, or whatever it is. I think that's what I'm getting across, is everybody's just doing the day-to-day. What I have taken away from all the different conversations and all the different levels of persons that I've spoken to is that aside from work, because we all have to work how we can, people are taking the time to enjoy with their family.
Right.
To do some sort of Zoom party with their friends and some sort of social distance event. They're kind of going back to certain basics of the individual connection, even though it's not really a connection because we can't see and touch each other, but some sort of connection. And that's interesting. I find that interesting.
Well, sure. And I think that's I think what I've noticed the most is, I'm going to answer my own questions because.
Good. Keep it going then.
So but I think that's the part that I found most interesting is how isolated a lot of people feel. That I don't think people realized how much the normal day-to-day routine and the social interactions we got from that routine really impacted our psyche. I've been on networking meetings where, especially in the beginning, where people were sort of on the verge of tears because they were their lives were so upended because of what was going on, and they just didn't adapt as well as others. And seeing people even virtually sort of mattered. So I think that's kind of interesting to see how, as you kind of mentioned, the kind of the virtual happy hour kind of thing started happening, where where everybody got their cigars and their scotches or their wine or whatever it is they wanted, and they went on their patio and they hung out with their friends in a weird sort of kind of way.
We had a virtual club on the weekend with some friends of ours, and we had some music playing and stuff like that because that's the new norm, I guess.
What I think is kind of fascinating is you mentioned when things get back to normal. I don't think they're ever going to get back to exactly the way they were.
No.
I don't think that will ever be the same naive, say have the same naivete that we did a month ago or 6 weeks ago or whatever. From a timing perspective, we want to time this. Certainly 2 months ago, I don't think that it's ever going to be that again. I think that a lot of people are always going to have a measure of distancing. I think that there's going to be fewer handshakes. I think you're going to see a lot more fist bumps or touching elbows kind of thing when people are meeting face to face, because there's going to be that in the back of our minds. We learned a lot about the spread of viruses, even though we knew we were never afraid of the flu.
I'll partially agree with you. I agree that it won't be as it was, but I honestly believe people have short memories, and it may not be a week, but 6 months from now, and it may be a culture thing. I can see certain cultures are not going to do the elbow bump. I mean, I can tell you I'm not going to do the elbow bump. I'll be shaking hands and hugging just like I always have. So maybe I'm just speaking on my behalf.
I will definitely shake your hand and hug you when I see you. I mean, kiss your wife. I'm going to draw.
Yeah. We'll leave that off this call.
I'm just saying. So, all right. But no, I do think we are going to see that more of a cultural shift, though. I think obviously specific cultures, Latin cultures, are going to be still going to be a little bit more effusive with their physical affection. But I do think that you're going to see in business settings, it's going to be a little bit more reserved. I think that this is going to scare a bunch of people, about what that means, because they don't want to, because we don't know what the next one's going to be. And I think that's kind of an interesting sort of paradigm of what we're going to say. So talk to me about IDF and on a day-to-day when you're not scrambling to help clients deal with the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
What do you guys help your clients with on a day-to-day? I know that it kind of varies, but give me a couple of examples of what you end up doing for people.
Yeah. I mean, we've got clients of all shapes and sizes, and I'll be semi-correct during this conversation. We're not selective on the vertical we work with. We have clients in wholesale, retail, medical, financial, insurance, all types. And depending on the shape and the size, that kind of drives what we're doing with that client. So on the smaller clients, we are their IT, and whatever that we are their IT department means to you and means to whoever's watching this, that's exactly what we are. In some cases, we're running cable. In some cases, we're looking at their phone bills and seeing how we can help them save some money or change because they're opening up a second office or whatever it may be. And in some cases, it's the help desk. We're there to deploy computers, sell computers, and install applications and keep them running. To the other side of the scale is the larger clients that have more compliance requirements. We are more of, if they do not have a formal IT environment, we are their quote unquote corporate type IT environment where you have a CIO, you're running into compliance requirements, setting up policies and procedures and things of that nature. And then we also work with clients that have IT departments in specific projects and needs, depending on what those needs are. It could be business continuity. We have a handful of clients that that's our primary focus with them, in helping them set up their business continuity and disaster recovery plans and managing that throughout the cycle of the year. Because forget flu season, forget COVID. We're blessed with hurricanes every year. So we have this type of fire drill down here every year. So we're kind of ready for it.
So you're kind of making sure that they're always kind of prepped for that disaster. So, I mean, ultimately your clients, you were never afraid that they were going to start losing data during this. It was really, how do we make the pain not hurt as much?
Correct. And that's to your question back about teams and how the companies have changed culture. One thing that we've started doing, IDF, we've started doing on a weekly basis is every Friday afternoon, we have whether you want to call it a team huddle or happy hour, whatever it is, we kick on a team session and we're there for maybe 45 minutes or so going through the week, but we're also just sharing time together. And it's just making sure that's in place, because we didn't have a concern for data. We knew data was fine. Is making sure that the pain, as you said, was not there, or minimizing. And that's one theme that we've had on all our calls, is we need to assure that the clients can function as close to they were before now.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you mentioned that you started doing your team huddles sort of Friday late afternoon. I actually haven't implemented that in Flying Chimp, but we have started implementing more sort of Zoom, team meetings, staff meetings that, previously we would, once a week was fine because everybody saw one another. There was still that interaction. And especially for people that aren't public facing, that aren't dealing with the public on a regular basis, I could, when I started implementing more of these, you could even see that they kind of craved it. They needed that. So especially with your team, if they're not public facing, they're not dealing with talking to clients on a regular basis, they kind of lose that touch. Even for the most introverted introvert, still, like, we don't live in a vacuum.
Well, one of the things that I started doing, again, using Teams, I created an internal general channel, and I told my team, I said, guys, it's called Chessy TV. Starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, plus or minus, till whenever I stop working, Chessy TV's on. And I literally have my camera on the whole day. And they, just like if it was in the office, they jump in and we'll start talking. And it gets kind of crazy because sometimes there'll be 3 of us trying to talk about 3 different topics. But it's just like if we were in the office, you're trying to pay attention to one and you hear 2 other people talking in the background, you're telling them to shut up. So we've been doing that. But also, as you just said, we've been, I guess, wanting to see each other. We just don't call each other on the cell phone or on an extension. We actually do a screen share in Teams, and you've got the camera running, and it's like, okay, what do you think about this? Connect to this server. I'm on the server. Give me your ideas. And we're working together on it. So it's been a change, but I personally don't feel that my team has had any negative impact. If anything, it's kind of forced us to communicate a little bit better.
Right. And I love the idea of Chessy TV. I think there was a Jim Carrey movie that was about that. I'm sure that was more interesting than yours, but just saying. But no, I think it's super smart about people having the ability to basically just walk into your office. I would probably have encouraged you to turn it off for this interview, but that's just.
No. I'm being good on this interview. Everything's off, emails closed, even the cell phone, everything. It's like I'm dark for about an hour or so.
All right, fair enough. Well, I don't think it'll be a full hour. I think actually we're kind of wrapping up here for the most part. But no, I think that's a really neat idea about how you have, kind of created some measure of consistency to your team. No pun intended, to allow for that. It just feels normal. Like, I mean, how you chime in on somebody, whether you walk in their office, In other offices, they bring on their extension. Hey, can I ask you a quick question?
Right.
Or in this situation, it's just like, hey, just jump into my room. I'm working, but I'll look up and kind of rule of thumb in my offices. If I'm not on a call,
yeah,
you can always knock on the door and ask me a question. I leave my door open, but like I'm my face away from the door.
Yeah.
Like
I believe you. It's there.
The door. So, but ultimately, that's where people kind of, from my staff, can come in, and I just, just knock on, tell me what's going on. I don't see you, and okay, ask me a question. I'd rather get out of the way than have people kind of flustered.
Another thing in our team huddles, one of the things that we discussed was, and I told the guys, I said, I don't know how you're going to do it. We have the tools available to us, but try it. Is when you're doing the remote support for clients, offer to get on a session with them. So they may not want you to see them because they may be working from home and they may be wearing their hoodie and whatever conditions, but you get offered so they can see you, because again, let's keep that connection with people. And we do have a couple of the techs that have done it. And, honestly, I haven't done it because I haven't done any support calls. But I brought it up on one of the calls and I said, has anybody done it? And I was surprised because they said, yeah, we've done it. And they really appreciate it because they were able to see me while I was working on their computer and so forth and so on. So it's, again, trying to maintain whatever the word normal means to you, to me, to whoever, is trying to maintain that level of normalcy.
Right. And I think that the one thing that this is kind of forcing us to think about differently, and I think we've had this conversation before, but I've shared this with other people, is people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. That's a universal truth. Whether they do work with them, they were there for them, all of it. It's about know, liking, and trusting. And the social distancing has created a distance between people. So that becomes hard to do. And I think it's pretty smart to have that almost like the curtain behind the great odds. You kind of pull down that curtain, okay? Especially in IT, where a lot of people are very, are completely, I should have turned that off before I started.
That was me calling you. That was me calling you to test. I was testing you. I was testing you.
So, but I think what this has really sort of forced us to do is kind of create opportunities for that social. And I love the idea of pulling the curtain of behind the great odds, because in IT, a lot of people think what you do is just kind of a mystery. Like, I mean, if they're not technically inclined, what you do it's magic.
I've got a gentleman in my life that constantly tortures me, my father, and that's what he says, that IT is about 80% magic and the rest is knowledge, which I continue to try and prove him wrong, but I'll keep trying.
But to the people in the know, it's 100% knowledge. But if you're not in the know, like, I mean, people who look at programming, obviously we have some programmers on staff flying Chimp, magically it just sort of happens.
Right.
Well, no, it's a lot of if-else statements. It's just a lot of logic that goes back and forth. But if you don't have the language of how to write that, you don't understand how to create the logic that's necessary, it's not just another language. It's completely and totally, and it's magic. I mean,
right.
What is there's a kind of I think it's an Isaac Asimov quote or something. I'm probably screwing up who said it, but an advanced technology tool can basically is indistinguishable from magic to a primitive enough culture.
Right.
So if you were to show a cell phone to someone 200 years ago in this country, that would be magic.
Well, yeah, it'd be magic. It's not possible. It's not possible.
Star Trek, 50 years ago, when the original Star Trek was on the air, 50 years ago, that didn't feel possible.
Right.
It's been possible for the last 20 years. It's been possible. I mean, like not the transporter stuff, but the communicators, like the flipping open. We haven't had flip phones in 20 years because that's antiquated technology now.
Yep.
Yet, when they watch it, that's never possible. How is that possible? It's no way. It felt impossible, and now it's not just possible, it's the norm, and it's weird if you don't have it.
Correct. Yeah.
This has been really helpful. This has been really interesting.
Thank you, Jeff.
I really appreciate your time.
No worries, sir.
30 seconds. Tell people about IDF, which is actually going to experience a name change in the not too distant future, but we're not going to tell people what that is yet. We're working on that together. So tell us about IDF. 30-second plug. Go for it.
I mean, 30-second plug. All right, I just used about 5 or 10. We've been around for about 20 years, family-based business.
All right, okay.
Now he just used 5 more seconds. So we've been around for 20 years, but as I said earlier, the biggest thing is we're a form and function company. I mean, we want to partner with companies, and we're here to really assist them as best as we can. I mean, I'm not the marketing guy, so I'm not gonna sit here and plug and all the different things we do, but you know, we're a bunch of geeks that can get things going for you. That's what we are.
I like it. Jesse, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jeff.
Be safe. Be well.
Stay away from the zombies.
And avoid the zombies.
You got it, sir.